Okay, so let's read it over again quickly. We already did the Rashis, or at least some of them. So if a person is sleeping on the road, does not know that it got dark and slept into Shabbos, so he was not awake and conscious when Shabbos hit. So Yesh Lapayim Amul Cholrach, we're going to give it to you anyway. We're going to give you the 2,000 Amos, even though you didn't make a conscious thought to acquire those 2,000 Amos. Divrei Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Chamomrim in Leila Arba Amos. All you have is 4 Amos, so they take a much harsher view, clearly implying that you have to be aware to be Kona Shvisa. There's got to be a thought process that just does not come naturally, simply that you're in the world and that it's sort of just, it's given to you. Those 4 Amos that are given to you is with you calculated in the middle. No, he says you can go any time. You can go in any direction you want. However, meaning that you're at the edge. I mean, you start the Dalet Amos. You're not in the middle of the circle. You start the Dalet Amos, and you pick a direction, and in that direction you can go 4 Amos anywhere you want to go. But once you pick your Dalet Amos, Umod Rabbi Yehuda Shembir Lo Shani Yochel Lachzabay, and Rabbi Yehuda admits that Rabbi Yehuda just argued with Rabbi Lezer, admits that if you do choose, you can't go back and re-choose, I want another direction. You got this, you pick your 4 Amos, you walk your 4 Amos, and that's it. You can't now go off in another direction. So, yeah, but I guess he disagrees. He's more makel in a certain way that you can go in any direction, 4 Amos, as opposed to Rabbi Lezer, who says you only go 2 Amos in any direction because you're in the middle of the circle. But on the other hand, once you pick it, according to Rabbi Lezer, you have 2 Amos throughout the entire circle with you in the middle. According to Rabbi Lezer, according to Rabbi Yehuda, once you travel those 4 Amos, you're stuck there and you don't have a new 4 Amos to choose from. Okay. Okay, so that's where we got up to, and we did the Rashi, so let's pick it up from here. Hayu Shnayim Mixas Amosav Shalzeh Betoch Amosav Shalzeh. Okay, there are 2 people, and part of the 4 Amos of this guy, who basically was given 4 Amos, based on his situation, he was stuck. Either they walked out of the Tchum, or, like we just said, they slept through Shabbos, and you follow the Chachamim, and all you have is Dalet Amos. So the 2 guys were given 4 Amos, and their 2 4 Amos had a slight overlap. Okay, so Yishnayim Mixas Amosav Shalzeh Betoch Amosav Shalzeh. So this guy's 4 Amos had a 1 Amos, let's say, overlap between the other guys. Rashi Yishnayim Omrim Zeh Rochak Mizeh Vav Amos. So 2 guys are standing 6 Amos away from each other. The Mivlin Beis Amos Shel Kolecha Betoch Shechavero. So when you calculate each guy's 4 Amos, there's a 2 Amos overlap of my 4 Amos circle to your 4 Amos circle or square. So what does that do? What's the nafkamina there? So the halach is meviin v'ochen be'emsa betoch osam beis Amos. You're allowed to bring food, and I guess you want to have some company, and you want to be able to manage, some level of sanity over Shabbos. So if you're able to eat together, that would be a big help. So you can if you get them food, you can put the small little table in the 2 Amos area and have them eat together. And I guess we're not afraid that they're gonna carry stuff over to the other side, which would be problematic. Let's see here. You can bring food only within those 2 Amos area for both of them. The part that they can share is fine, but if you extend it over, that's not. I can't walk into that area. I can't move into there. So we're not afraid. I guess even just the movement possibly is a concern. That my Dalet Amos ends at this point of the border of the common area, and if I move into your specific area, I'm already going too far. So you are allowed to bring the food. As long as they eat in the middle, ulvad, as we turn the page, ulvad shelo yotzi zeh mitoch shelo mitoch shel chavero. As long as one guy does not cross over to the other side of his friend. Okay, Rashi, ulvad. Okay, big Rashi. Ulvad shelo yifshod zeh yodai l'toch shtayim achitzonios. Okay, as long as I do not extend my hand into the two amis of the outside area, she'ein loy behem klum, because I don't have anything to do with that. That's a prohibited area for me. V'yotzi l'shampita o chafetzo, and I might take my bread or my chayfetz there, the chafetz of Karaglov, and my items are just like my feet. Just like my feet are limited, my bread and my cholent is limited. I can't take things out of the tchum. And if I have 4 amas, my chafetzim also have 4 amas. The chafetz of Karaglov, the Tanan, as the Mishnah says in Beya, habehema v'kelim karagle abaylim, that an animal and kelim are like the feet of the owner. The chol dal amas the kol chad shavin rabbanon l'gabei krishus yachid. What's that little bays? Where is I Marshall? Okay, let's just it looks like a big issue. Maybe how you read this, or whether it's another pshat or not. But let's just plow through it straight. One more time. The Tana behema v'keim karagle bailim. Okay, an animal or utensils that belong to one person are like his feet and have his limitations. Because each, and I was explaining the rationale of the concern of not taking your bread over to the other side, because each of the 4 amis, Rabbanan made like Rosh Hashanah. V'asol lahachnis. Okay, he quotes Gemara earlier. And you would not be allowed to enter in and out and to take things from outside of it inside to that area. And you can't compare it to a case. Now, because right now the concern is that I'm Rosh Hashanah and you're Rosh Hashanah, and the halach is you can't go from one Rosh Hashanah to the other. Now, it's not really Rosh Hashanah. I mean, we're out in the middle of who knows where, and it's not 2 domains in the classical sense. It's only 2 domains because I have my Dalar Amis and you have your Dalar Amis. So it's certainly not, it does not look like a classical 2 domains. He says, and it's not, but yet and that's why we're afraid that you might carry something in from one rishus to the other, from your area to his area. Yet the halach is you're allowed to eat there in the middle as long as you don't move anything over. And it's not so similar to a case where you measured 2,000 amas and it ended in the middle of a city. The Tanya El, because we learned earlier, the mutal tata b'chol ir aydei zrika, right? So I'm surrounded right now. So my tchum ends in a big surrounded area of a big rishus hayachid, and even though I can't walk any further because I wasn't kona shvisa in the city first, I just happened to walk into the city, and I'm limited by 2,000 amas. Can I throw something now into center field, which certainly is still rishus yachid? So it's not l'chorah carrying issue, is it? So why can't I throw something into the area beyond my tchum, and there's a Tana who says I can throw it into there because my feet are limited, but my item can go further because there's no carrying issue in this domain because it's all surrounded. It's all one big rishus yachid. He says, so it's not similar to that. Why not? The mutal tata b'cholir adei zrika u'vash yavra at tchum b'raglov. As long as you don't pass through the tchum by your feet, I don't care how far you throw. Why where clearly the message is, even though you can't walk there, you can throw there. So why can't we employ the same rules that even though I can't walk into your Dalar Amis, I could move items into your Dalar Amis, and why can't I move the cholent or the soda bottle into your domain? What's the problem? There's some kula chadarishusi. The difference is because there, when you're in the Astrodome, you're in one big rishus. everyone agrees it's one domain, and therefore throwing something into an area you can't walk to, that's fine. Vinami kolsimi dasa chutzir. Well, I guess, and here it's two domains. It's my rishus hayachid and your rishus yachid. So we've given you individual specific guidelines as to where rishuyos end, even though it's not surrounded, but it takes on a lamdisha separation of domains, and therefore I can't throw something from one domain into the other. Vinami kolsimi dasa chutzir, and even in also in a situation where the midah ends, 2,000 amas ends outside of a city, mutal taltel michutz l'tchumo l'toch tchumo sheyamas bezeh yushteyamos bezeh, that I'm allowed to. Another halacha apparently that we learned is that you're allowed to you're allowed to move an item from within my tchum, or from outside the tchum inside the tchum, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. So if I have an item that is sitting, I can move it, or I can't take it more than daled amis, but I can move it within the 4 amis, crossing over from outside the tchum to inside, or the inside to outside. Why again? The kul rishus rabim. Okay, because again in that domain it's all rishus rabim, and you're allowed to move something within daled amis in rishus rabim. Paim didei loy shavir rishus yachid legabei. Okay, because the 2,000 amas is not considered rishus yachid. We don't do that. We don't say that when your 2,000 amas ends, that's your private domain, and therefore anything moving from rishus rabim into your private domain, even 1 am away, would be going from rishus rabim to rishus yachid. That we don't say. The asl tatule buhu, it would be also to carry. Okay, but so that's in a case where you have 2,000 amas, and it ends at a certain border. That's not now considered rishus yachid. Okay, but the daled amis of a person who goes outside of its chum, that's different. With the notion, they say ruve, okay, where he's already gone. He's got his own private area. In other words, in the other case, you're within you can walk back 2,000 amas. You just can't cross over to the tchum. There, you're not given a rishus yachid. But when you go out of the tchum and now you're in a place and you're sort of kona your own little small little spot where you truly are limited by daled amis. Daled amis the yotze chutz tchum udenosen es eruvo That's again it's earlier udekona shvisa baraglov. Okay, or when you're kona shvisa with your feet, I guess all these are situations where you're basically kona a small area. Shavira bon lagabe kashusa yachid. In that situation, there when you're limited by 4 amis in these different situations, however they might manifest themselves, those 4 amis are like given to like a special. It's literally like we see it with a fence around it, and that's your rishus yachid. And in that situation, unlike the case where you can walk 2,000 amis and you can walk back 2,000, you're not limited. You don't have a daled amis. You have plenty to walk. That's different. But here in these situations, it's like 2 separate domains. So as a result, therefore, there's a real concern that you're going to. There could be a concern. We're not going to answer you from eating in that 2 am area that's an overlap. That we're going to let you do, but you do have to be careful not to allow your food to move from your rishus to his rishus, even though typically that would seem very innocent. It's not moving more than 4 amas. Even if you're middle of Wilshire Boulevard, and you want to move something within 4 amas, you could. You're allowed to do that, but not in this case because you've got 4 amas in one area of Wilshire, and he's got a 4 amas in a very close by area in Wilshire, but those 2 daled amas are seen as 2 separate rishuyos, and one cannot traverse from one to just like you can't go from one house to another house without an eruv, right? You can't go from 2 people's houses and carry something from one house to the other. You can't do this either, so that takes care of that. Okay, not a simple Rashi, but That's the way it looks. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, that's weiter. Okay.
On the cases of denosin as Eruvin with the Kona Shvisa Baraglav.
Yeah.
So you should have, in that case, you do actually have an extra 2,000 amos. It's not, but we learned that there was something about that area where you put your eruv has like an halacha of arba amos. So it looks like.
Do you remember the circumstances of that?
It was to figure out whether you could reach the air that you made, the matzah or whatever. I think that was if it's within arba amos of where you are.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There was, so I think this. So I guess in besides being lakula, I guess it also goes lechumra.
Right. I mean, but again, I don't remember the exact details. But the point is, you are limited with dalanamis. No, I mean
for the theoretical carrying. Well, for the carrying, yes, but you're not limited to the arba amos of walking, because that's where you kona shvisa, or that's where you made your eruv. But that 4 amos is considered your shosal yachid for certain halachas.
Right, because I can't move the eruv to where I want to move it to. Okay, I mean it's outside of my. I can move it 4 amos, but I can't move it more than 4 amos.
Like it was like let's say if the area
the tree case out by the tree.
Yeah,
okay.
It's on the tree, and theoretically I could get it, but midrabanan I'm not allowed to get it. But since theoretically I'm allowed to get it, and with it's within 4 amos, so it's considered like I'm going.
Right. Okay, I hear. But the basic rule is that when there is a 4 amma. When you're given 4 amos as a limitation, that becomes your rishus hayachid, and that takes on, the typical classic halachas of not being able to travel from one rishus hayachid to the other.
But I'm saying, here you're not given it as a limitation. There was a limitation is only for the first case of arba amos to yotzich.
Well, but there's a limitation. So why is Rashi bringing that case?
The nosin is Eruvin de Kona Shvisa Baraglav.
Yeah.
Because in addition to being lakula, that you're allowed to carry within that theoretical carrying, within there, you're not allowed to go outside of it either. It's not just for the kula aspect of I'm able to reach my eruv, and therefore I was kona my shvisa there.
Okay, so you have a limitation of dalaramas. No, I'm not sure what you're saying. You can't. So in other words, there is. I mean, if there's no limitation of dalaramas, then why would it be considered rishus hayachid?
I mean, you don't have any limitation of arba amos for raglov. You can walk outside of it because that's where you make your shvisa.
Okay, but the limitation you're saying is for carrying.
But the limitation is for right.
There's got to be some limitation. If it's not a limitation,
it's for the zrika, right?
It's
for the zrika.
Well, okay, it could be. I have to go back to be sure.
Okay.
But okay. Fine, right? But the concept is that there is in those cases where there is however the manifestation. I'm not sure why Rashi has to bring that in these cases, but because clearly the message here and the concern here is that once you're given dalaramis and your chafetzim are bound to the same rules as you are, passing your becher over to an area outside of dalaramis, an area into his rishus hayachid would be a problem. That's the concern that Rashi seems to be conveying to us, that it's a separate rishus hayachid, and as such, you can't carry from one place to the other. So
we're talking about that you can't go, that you can't take it outside of. Even if you don't leave the area, you can't transfer. I'm saying, but there's an intersection, right, between the. So
the intersection is okay because that's within.
Even though there's another rishus hayachid that's interfering in yours.
Yeah, because that's still part of yours.
Because it's still part of yours, so that doesn't knock yours
out.
Right,
we're not going to make Xera to now prevent you.
But even if you're staying in yours, you can't transfer out of it into the other one.
Correct. Because the chayfetz is limited to you, and it has the same rules that you have, and if you can't walk there, your chayfetz can't go there. Well, I mean, actually, it's 2 different issues. In other words, let's not overlap. But there's one issue of the chayfetz not being able to go further than you. Just like you have dalaramis, your chayfetz, your item has dalaramis. That's one issue. Mm-hmm. But it seems Rashi's focusing on a different issue. That even if your chayfetz is limited to you, you can't move you can't carry. There's Hilchas Shabbos. So there's Hilchas Tchumin, and there's partial Hilchas Shabbos of carrying. You can't go from Rishus Yachid to somebody else's Rishus Yachid. So even if the item is not per se limited in terms of its Tchum rules, it is limited mitzvah the fact you can't bring something into another domain from one Rishus Yachid to another. So that seems to be the main focus. I think with these girsas, different shatim, there might be two different issues. In other words, we sort of overlap both issues, but there are really two concepts at play. There's a tchum aspect of that item, and then there's the carrying aspect of that item. Rashi seems to be focusing more on the carrying aspect, and therefore talks about the fact that even though in other areas, if in a big area you can throw, that's because it's seen as one big area. But here it's two separate rishuyos, and going from one rishus yachid to another is definitely a problem.
So even in the shared part.
No, in the shared part is still part of my Daled Amos.
But if it's also his Rishus Yachid, then can you transfer?
Well, once
your Rishus Yachid to his Rishus.
But once it's my Rishus Yachid, I can keep it there. I have a right to keep my item in my Rishus Yachid.
Even if it's also somebody else's Rishus
Yachid. Apparently, yes, good point. But it seems that's not a problem. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go to the next case. Okay, we're good, Gary?
Yeah, I caught up.
Okay, good. Okay, because I'm not sure how good we are, but we're okay.
English helps a lot.
Okay, good. Let's see, the next case. Okay, second line of the Mishnah, on Amid Beis. You had three people now sharing Daled Amos. But the middle guy only can share with the two outside guys, but the two outside guys can't share with each other. So, there were three people. So you had, let's say, a 2 amma overlap between box 1 and box 2, and a 2 amma overlap between box 2 and box 3, but box 1 and box 3 never touched each other. They don't get to each other, but they are able to have common ground with the middle guy. Okay, so I can share my area with the two of you in the areas that we overlap. And they can share with him in the areas that they overlap. And the two outside guys are prohibited to intermingle with one another. They can't go to the other person's territory. Amr Shimon Lamad of Daimer. What's it similar to? The Shlosh Chatzeres Hapsuchos Zulazu. Let's say you have 3 courtyards, each one open to its counterpart. Okay, so you got a nice opening in the middle of each courtyard that allows you to go through to the other one. They have a good diagram there in the art scroll. Okay, and each chutzner, in addition, is also open to Rishus Rabbim. So it's got an opening to Wilshire, and it's also got an opening to each other. So is if the two outside guys made an Eruv Chatzeros with the inside guy, okay, but they did not, unfortunately, make one with each other. They didn't merge all 3. There were 2 separate mergers of 2. But the 1-3 guy didn't connect. Okay, so he muteris imohen. So the middle guy he made an erev with each guy. So I can go to 1, I can go to 3. They muteris imo, and they wanted to go to him. However, but the 2 outside guys who never merge, you can't say, well, since I can go to you and you go to him, things equal to the same things are equal to each other. It does not work in this situation because we could have merged ourselves and we didn't. So we're stuck. I can't go to 3 and 3 can't go to 1. Okay. Rashi. And the middle guy is swallowed up in between Chatzeres 1 and 3. Beza Mosov B'toch Shalzeh, Beza Mosov B'toch Shalzeh. So I have 2 of my amos that I share with neighbor 1, and 2 of my amos I share with neighbor 2, neighbor 3 rather. My neighbor 2, but I'm the neighbor 2 in the middle. Mutter im kol echod. So I can turn in your direction and have some cholent with you. I can now go the other direction and have some chopped liver with him. So I can go back and forth and have a nice meal with my 2 neighbors or my 2 buddies next door. This is in the Tchum case. Comes in Reb Shimon. I'm sure it's interesting. Like, why do I need? Like, what is it? What is this new case of Chatzar illuminating exactly? But he says, you want to know what it's similar to. Maybe I don't want to know what it's similar to, but I'm going to find it anyway. L'sholosh Chatzeros zu eitzel zu. You have 3 courtyards, one side by next to each other, side by side. Psuchas Rishus Ram, and each one is open to the Rishus Ram. The kol achas Rishusi Atzma. Right, by the fact that I have an entryway to Wilshire separate from going through your property, that means I have my own identity. I have my own, domain and my own chutzner, and I don't really need you to get to the outside. There is no natural right of way that I've, sort of had over the years that sort of merges us naturally because I have no other way of getting out. If I had to go through your backyard to get to Wilshire, that would be a different story. But I don't. I can get to Wilshire from my backyard. But I'd like to, share things with you. I'd like to be able to move back and forth in terms of carrying things. So there is no Drisas Regel one to the other. The Evelu, Zuluf Mizu, Asra Pnimis Achitzaina. Because had there been one big shared area where in other words, I needed to go through to you to get to the outside, and I didn't merge with you, then I would have asked you. The inside guy would have asked the outside guy. I feel if they because in each chutzner, because in other words, since we are in a sense together and we never officially made ourselves together by making Eruvin chatzeros, that would mess everybody up. But here, since each one has its own exit to Wilshire, then the fact that I didn't merge with you doesn't answer the middle guy to the other 2. Otherwise, it would really be a big mess. And if we're all 3 connected through our common exit, and we didn't connect to each other, then our ability to not carry, 1 and 3's inability to carry to each other would have impacted the ability of 2 to carry to 1 and to 3. But that's not the case. So it would have been more problematic if that had been the case, but it's not, and that's why he chooses a case where each one has its own exit to Wilshire. Okay, but just like in the Tchum case, 1 cannot eat with 3 because we have no common ground. In the Chatzar case, 1 cannot carry into 3 and 3 cannot carry into 1 for the same type of lumdus. Okay. A lot going on here. So let's see here. Clearly, this probably good guess is not going to be the easiest Gemara we ever learned. Let's proceed. By Rava, Rava has a shaila. So let's go one step at a time. So we had a machlokis between Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and the Chachamim. So by Rava Maikas of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, right? Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri said that if you sleep and you wake up and it's Shabbos already, and now you want to know whether you have Dalan Amis, you have 2,000 Amis, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri cut you some major slack, and he said you have 2,000 Amis from the moment you wake up, anywhere you want to go. It's like you were Kona Shvisa there. So it's no different than setting up a tent, and doing a whole Boy Scout thing. And this is where we're resting for Shabbos. That you can go 2,000 amas in any direction around your tent. But in this case, I was sleeping, but it's no different. We're gonna cut you some slack. What's a lumdis? So that's the Gemara's question. What's the logic of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri? Maikas of Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Masbe kosova chefse hefker kainin shvisa. Is his underlying principle that items that don't have any ownership, like something that fell from the sky, or something that a ger has no yorshim, passes away, and now Shabbos comes, and that item just sitting there, doing nothing, and the question is how far can it go, right? Because we know that inanimate objects also have a limitation of traveling distance. So is the vart that hefkedika things are able to acquire their own dwelling place to limit their movement 2,000 amis, and that creates a leniency for me who's sleeping, that I'm like a hefker right now. I don't have any thought process. I don't have anybody directing me, and yet I can still have that same allowance of being like an ownerless item, an item that belonged to hefker, that was hefker, and I also have 2,000 amis, me being asleep. Okay. Let's see here. Ubedinu delifla bekalim. And in reality, if that was the underpinning of the issue, then the real machlokas really could have been said by inanimate objects. Why are we talking about a man who fell asleep? Why aren't we talking about an ownerless item? Okay, that should really be the machlokes. The reason why we chose man instead of inanimate objects, which would have been more of the source of the issue, which is hefse, hefker, kain and shvisa or not, is all the achakocha rabbanon. To tell me the power of the rabbis, the rabbanon here, the majority, the afagav the ikol memar hayel vener kana yoshinami kana, where the other side of the coin would be that maybe there's no parallel between a man and between an inanimate object. An inanimate object doesn't have the ability to make a decision. A man does. I just happened to be sleeping at the time, but I could get up any moment, and I do have the ability to be kind of shvisa. So maybe there you can argue that the two things are not linked. Now maybe the Rabbanim would say that just because hefker can't be kind of shvisa, a sleeping person could be. Okay, so maybe the Mishnah chose the case of a sleeping person. Therefore, the chiddush would be that no, don't say that, and there is no difference. There's a complete parallel between an inanimate object and a sleeping guy, and both don't acquire shvisa and don't have daled 2,000 amis. They have daled amis and nothing more. Well, let me take that back. But hefker might have more when picked up, and if somebody decides to take it, that might be a different story. But at least there is no independent acquisition, and therefore I transfer that same lumdus to the sleeping person, where he's got to be stuck in his dalanamis because hefse hefker are not kind of shvisa. Is that the lumdus? O dilma, or perhaps no. Maybe I'm totally mixing up apples and oranges. O dilma ksav Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri ba'alma chafsei hefker ein kain shvisa. I can maybe tell you that typically I hold that if you're inanimate and you're hefker, you don't have any independent identity. You're completely subservient to whatever might happen, by somebody else coming your way to take you. However, and if that's the case, so if there ain't kain shvisa, so you should logically be limited to dalar amis. Okay. However, v'chainu taima hayel v'ner kana yoshinami kana. Or is the reason is that even though normally ain't kind of shvisa, and normally you would be limited to dalar amis, but Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says a human being is different, because a human being, since when he's awake, he could be kind of. We're gonna give him that leeway now as well. So is it a unique machlokes simply by a living person, and everyone agrees that when it comes to hefker, it's not konesh visa, or is it a cross-the-board machlokes, both regarding hefker and regarding a person, and the machlokes is are hefker hefker konesh visa or not? So that's the shaila. Let's do Rashi. Chefsi hefker kelim she'en lehem bailim. Okay, you have a kelim that don't have any owners. That's hefker. It's just simply ownerless. Either it was made ownerless or became ownerless because the owner died and nobody else was able to acquire it, or inherit it. So kelim she'en lehem bailim v'chasheichel lehem b'mokom echad, and they hit Shabbos in a certain place. Avagav d'shlon skavin lehen adam laknosin shvisa. Nobody gave this item the thought at all when Shabbos came to be kona shvisa. It isn't like, I'm going to get that item, or I want that item, or I'm going to acquire that. Nothing like that. So do you say that ownerless limbo item kainan shvisa mkomon, that they acquire shvisa in their place, ben adam yochel lataltal misham yosim alpayim l'chol ruach? Okay, and therefore nobody else can come and take that item more than 2,000 amas from the original spot. I feel erev l'tzaracher, even if that person made an erev in another direction. I say no. It wasn't. It was kind of shvisa, and it's not like up to you to decide and give it its own identity. It already had its identity when Shabbos came, and that identity is that it's kind of shvisa, and therefore it has 2,000 amas from this position. Okay, so that would be the Rabbanan's position, right? That 1 second. No, I'm sorry. That would be Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri's position. That do we say that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri holds, even though you're ownerless, you have your own identity, and yes, you become a shvisa, and Therefore, a sleeping person will be the same way. A sleeping person also will be able to acquire his place, even though there's no thought process going on. And the truth of the matter is, they really should have argued bekalim, the liflugu bekalim. If that would be the machlokas, they really should have argued by utensils, shal hefker, v'ayadam yoshin shal niskayav l'shvisa kekelim shal hefker dami. Right, and it's the person who's sleeping is similar to hefker. So why not talk about the actual source case as opposed to talk about an extension or a similar case? Talk about the source itself. Why not speak about the issue directly? Okay, and the answer is because I want to tell you the power of the Chachamim, to tell you that even though the Chacham maybe could make a distinction, they don't. They say a man is the same. Or do you say, no, that everyone agrees that you're not Konesh Shvisa by a Keli, but by an Adam is different. Why is Adam different? Because an Adam does have the ability. Okay, if it had he been awake, he would have been able to be kind of, and therefore we're gonna, and that's why Rabbi Yochanan cut you some slack. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nura cuts you some slack by an Adam, even though he would not cut you that same slack by a Keli. Okay, so which one is it? We don't know yet. Okay, let's just plow a little bit into this, and we'll obviously have to get into this tomorrow. So let's see here. Toshma, right? So Amr of Yosef, back to the Gemara. Toshma, let's try to bring a proof from this particular brisa. Kshamim sheyardu me'erev yontif, rain that fell from erev yontif, yesh lahem alpayim amma l'chol ruach. So that rain that fell on erev yontif, not on yontif itself, on erev yontif, you have 2,000 amis for every direction for that rain to be taken. Okay, so basically the rain sounds like it has its own identity, it has its own limitations, and you can take that rain only so far. 2,000 amis and nothing more. Okay, the yontif, harei hein karagle kolodam. If it fell on yontif, then they take on the identity of the people who pick it up. Okay, let's look at Rashi. B'yontif, im yordu b'yontif, if the rain fell not on erev yontif, where it was able to be konesh shvisa as yontif hit, but on yontif itself, where it was not in the world yet when Yontif hit, Harei hein karagli kodam. Shlo haisel and shvisa ben hashmashos. There was no, when darkness hit, any ability to be konesh shvisa. L'chol sad she'ir v'adam yoch litlan. And whatever this person did, the human being who wants to pick it up, whatever erev he made and whatever access he has, he can take that water to that the extent that it can follow him around anywhere he can go. The water can follow. We'll pick this up tomorrow.